coming to you from home. Hope everyone's doing well today. I've been converting a lot of electric motorcycles just because they've been so cheap, and it's the end of the season, everyone's throwing them out, so I usually pick them up for a couple bucks. Right now I have about 10 Razor E 100s, 175s, 300s, easy scooters, just a ton of them laying around. So I just build them and then give them away to friends, family, and some charities I've given away to. I just personally enjoy doing it. So I wanted this video just to talk about some of the mods and upgrades that you can do. I've tried everything. I've taken them from 60 volt ones that can do like 40 miles an hour. The only thing I haven't done is a double hub one. I think that's my next thing. I'm going to try to get a 72 volt front and rear hub motor to try to push it to the max, beat out one of the big name ones that's currently doing like 60 miles an hour. That's not here or there. Just want to talk about what the upgrades are, what your options are, is it worth it, what to do, how to do it, or if you're just throwing your money away. So, I'm going to start with the E100. You got these little tires, you can change out the sprocket, change the gearing, get a little bit more power. Really still sucks. Next thing you can do is overvolt it, just add more batteries. Not the best idea, you'll burn out your motor. This motor is only equipped to handle 100 watts. You can take it to about 250 before it starts to burn out and really melt down. Once the coils melt down, they short, you have no motor, you have no scooter, you just wasted all your money. I know everyone saw this little guy. I think this is junk. Not the part. I just think that for the amount of money you're spending, the 30, 40 bucks, you're not getting that big of a difference. And the other thing is that hooking that up to one of these, it's going to destroy it. You might get a couple runs out of it, but for me, I like to take my daughter, I live behind a park, so we like to go for rides in the park. So we'll do 5-10 miles on a ride, sometimes a little more. So this just isn't feasible with this, because one, it can't get you up any hills, and two, it's just not really made for this motor. Pairing controllers and motors is something that is really important for longevity. I mean, I could probably dump about 1,000 watts in here, do one run up the street and fly, but why? Same thing with this guy. It's a little bit bigger. This is for the E300. Once again, it's just, I mean, I don't even know what the specs are. I think it's 300 watts, 250 watts, 24 volts. A lot of people take it up to 36 volts. You can handle 36 volts. I wouldn't push it any more than 350 watts though. Once again, you'll just burn it out. Then what's the point? You can change the gearing, things like that. Might get a little bit more, but you're not getting these bad boys over 20 downhill. So, what are some other options? So when I went to originally upgrade my E300, I bought this bad boy. 60 volts, spins at 6,500 RPMs, 2,000 watts. I use this in some of the motorbikes that I build. Great motor. The only thing is that it doesn't fit. Can you make it fit? Sure. You can put it underneath and custom mount it. But when you put it underneath and custom mount it, this part's so big that it ends up hitting the ground and you end up bottoming out a lot. It ends up ruining the motor that you just spent 300 bucks on for control and everything else. What's the point? I tried to top mount it. Had to do a lot of fabrication to top mount it. Also, just really dangerous. You can really lose a limb because to put it up top, you need to have the chain exposed, even when you fabricate it. I mean, I guess you could fabricate a chain guard, but the decks are pretty small as is, so I wouldn't want to put my kid on it, and I personally wouldn't want to be on it. Great motor zone. So you're probably asking, what do I do? You just showed me everything on the market. What do I do? E100s. Little 6.5 inch hub motor. I'm not telling you to buy this one. I'm just telling you that hub motors are a great option. You're able to fit this here is the actual motor all inside. So you're able to put more coils. You can get a lot more volts through it. You can carry a lot more amps through it. This one I've taken at 48 volts, probably about 500 amps. I'm sorry, 500 watts. And this will move. This will move. This will take you to about 20-25 miles an hour on an E100. And the other thing is that don't get one with a disc brake, because then you have to get tabs made for the disc brake caliper to pinch it. Something you don't think of. This has a drum brake. That's amazing, because all you have to do is mount it, put a what do you call it? A bicycle cord on there, and it just works like a regular bike handle, and it'll stop it. Also, depending on the controller you can get regenerative braking. So when you push the brake, the tire itself uses the magnetic force to slow it down and stop, and it actually works better than any brake that you could possibly want. And throws a little power back inside the battery, but that's not really why you do it. Also freewheels really well, better than chain. E300. Put this little guy in there. An E300 can take up to a 10-inch wheel before it starts to rub. So I throw one of these on there. This one, I have a controller that does regen braking, so I actually don't put any brake on the back wheel. I use the regen as the brake. Front wheel still has the scrub brake. That seems to be enough for me. Slows it down, and never had any issues with it. This can get you up to probably about 30 miles an hour, 48 volts or 60 volts at 2,000 watts. It's a great little system. One of the biggest problems is space. What do I do for power? Stuff. This is where it gets a little tough. That's what you have to work with an E100. It's not much space. I'm currently in the process of, I made a mold. I'm going to make a carbon fiber one using this mold. Carbon fiber box. That way I can put custom components in it and just sell the whole box fully done to whatever spec you want. But as you can see, this 100, picking your cells is super important. Don't use dead laptop battery cells. They don't put out enough amps. Most of those are at 3 to 5 amps max output before they start getting hot. So in here is a pack that I built of 20 cells. They're 21700s. They're Samsung P40s. We put out 4 amp hours each. So this pack right here has 8 amp hours. It fits directly in. Find a controller with the right specs. It also fits directly in. And not only that, look at all the space you have for the wiring and everything else to fit. So, put that in there. Take this in here. Well, if you buy the kit from me, it'll all be put up. I haven't started producing it or not. I don't know if I am or I'm not. But I just wanted to show you what I'm doing. So, put everything in there. You would get it like that, custom battery pack to whatever your specs are. Drop it in. Hub motor literally just goes, we'll have the plug, goes through the back as usual, and plugs in. That's it. And you can start riding it. Put the handle throttle on, and you're good. I'm going to show you one that I built. So, this is an E100 that I bought for my daughter. Customized. Put the hub on. Made a custom battery pack. This is a 15 amp hour battery pack that puts out 24 volts because I'm using a 24 volt controller. This controller only puts out 13 amps. The E50s are rated at like 9 amps. So for something like this, that's perfectly fine. If you're going to do a 60 volt one, you probably wouldn't want to use E100s. You have to use something with a lot more power because you're going to be pulling, well, depends on how many amps you're pulling. But this is a great one that I did that can take her up a hill. There's videos of her riding it. Everything is standard. I just use Velcro instead. It just makes it easier to put on. Same charging ports. Everything is stock. I just wire everything into the way that the manufacturer had it. It's got a breaker button on there, so you can just use the breaker button instead of using the fuse. But yeah, so those are your options that you have, really. The hub motors I find to be the best option. Batteries are expensive. I see a lot of people that are not familiar with batteries, it's not your fault, but people who aren't into building battery packs use those hoverboard batteries. They're great. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that when you have a pack that you can build, you can customize it to any size that you want. So for example, here's one, a 60 volt one I'm doing for an E300. Let me see if I can get that in there. So that'll fit down the side. And the controller will go right here. Here's the BMS that I'm using. And yeah, so those are pretty much your options. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, and feel free to follow.